und niemals verzagen und niemals
His father, Alois Hitler, was a strict-tempered government officer who believed in discipline and physical punishment. Hitler's mother, Clara Hitler, was very soft-hearted and caring. Hitler loved his mother deeply, but feared and hated his father. His father wanted Hitler to take a government job, whereas Hitler's dream was to become an artist in school. Hitler was an average student, but had a strong interest in history and German nationalism. He hated maths and science. This is where the idea of a great Germany begins to take birth in Hitler's mind. Asterisk in 1907. Hitler went to Vienna, where he applied for admission to the Fine Arts Academy. However, he was rejected twice. From here, the darkest phase of his life begins. Poverty is leaping on the streets. Extremist ideas and conspiracy theories. Gradually, he began to consider people responsible for his failures. This was the place where Hitler's mental poison was being prepared. Asterisks in 1913. Adolf Hitler was living in Vienna, Austria. He wanted to become an artist, but
du meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich
all political tensions combined to give birth to a global war. Asterisk the 28th of June 1914. The Crown Prince of Austria-Hungary, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and his wife were assassinated in Sarajevo. Behind this assassination was Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. This was a small incident, but in reality it triggered a chain reaction across all of Europe. Asterisk. Kaiser Wilhelm II, King of Germany, gave full support to Austria-Hungary and encouraged the war. Asterisk. Emperor Franz Joseph I declared war against Serbia. Asterisk. Tsar Nicholas II, supporter of Serbia. As soon as Russia mobilized, Germany jumped into the war. Asterisk. President Raymond Poincaré, Germany as old emir. France supported Russia. Asterisk. King George V joined the war after Germany attacked Belgium. In this way, a small incident dragged the entire world into war. Asterisk. At the start of 1914, Hitler was still a civilian.
Weil wir ringen und weil wir kämpfen und niemals erlahmen und niemals ermüden und niemals verzagen und niemals
nationalism plus loyalty to Germany plus excitement of adventure battlefield experience, surviving. Every day was difficult. Blindly followed orders, developed a habit of taking risks, received Iron Cross medals, second class and first class, rare for ordinary soldiers. In 1914, Hitler was still a civilian, but became a volunteer soldier for Germany. This was the time when an ordinary man began transforming into a future dictator. Asterisk. In 1918, Germany was defeated. The Kaiser abdicated. Hitler was in the hospital after a gas attack for him. This defeat was not just physical, but psychological. Trauma. World War I did not make Hitler a hero, but ignited the fire of a future dictator. Asterisk. After 1918, Germany was in total economic collapse. Hyperinflation destroyed the middle class, and farmers' unemployment and food shortages became common. The Treaty of Versailles imposed heavy reparations on Germany. Germany's honor had fallen before the world. People were struggling for daily survival. Social unrest and political chaos pushed people toward radical leaders. Asterisk. In 1919, Hitler joined a small political party. Its name was Deutsche Arbeiterpartei. Party held small nationalists and anti-communist ideas. Had a passion for speeches and propaganda. He naturally became the party's star speaker. Asterisk. In Hitler's speeches, began to see Hitler as a leader and savior. There was so much power and conviction in his voice that people physically swastika and slogan were introduced. This was the stage where Hitler became a dominant figure in Germany's mass politics. Asterisk. In 1923, Hitler attempted the Munich Putsch, aim national takeover through the Bavarian governments. Some army officers and paramilitary supporters SA were involved, but the plan failed. Police took action. Some supporters were killed. Hitler was arrested and sent to jail. Asterisk. In jail, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf to make Germany a world power. His ideology, anti-Semitic, a nationalist future political strategy and propaganda plan. Despite the failure of the Munich Putsch, Hitler turned jail into his mental factory and made the Nazi movement even more dangerous. Asterisk. In 1919, a small political party kept Hitler hidden. In 1923, he made his first attempt in Munich, and in jail he began planning to become Germany's most terrifying dictator. After the failure of the 1923 Munich Putsch, Hitler was sent to Landsberg prison. The jail conditions were somewhat comfortable compared to ordinary prisoners, but Hitler's mind turned this place into a factory of strategy and planning. Jail stopped Hitler physically, but made his intentions even more dangerous. Asterisk. Hitler wrote his famous book Mein Kampf in jail. In this book, He explains his ideology and vision, making Germany a world power concept of strong leadership, the need for a dictator, national pride and unity of the German people, blaming Jews, communists and internal enemies. Political strategy and propaganda plan. Mein Kampf was not just a book, it was Hitler's mental war room. Jail forced Hitler to confront lamentations. He learned how to manipulate the Messiahs, turned speeches and rallies into ideological tools. Adopt political patience and strategy. These 9 months were mental training for Hitler, which would make him a future dictator. After his release in 1924, his ego and determination became even stronger. Nazi Party's reorganization and mass outreach plan was ready, Hitler realized, which slow and calculated political rise is more effective. Jail did not stop Hitler, rather made him more dangerous and methodical. Germany. Banks collapsed, unemployment became extremely high, people suffered from starvation and desperation. Germany needed a strong leader, Messiah, where people had lost hope. Hitler saw his opportunity. Hitler gave people hope and promises. Promise of jobs, employment through infrastructure and army growth. Promise to restore Germany's honor, undo the Treaty of Versailles of national pride and unity. People felt emotional resonance in his speeches through political rallies and propaganda. The Nazi Party grew rapidly with every speech. People emotionally connected and began to see Hitler as a savior. On the 30th of January 1933, Hitler became Germany's Chancellor. He exploited democracy's loopholes through legal and political processes. The Nazis gained majority influence in Reichstag elections. Hitler banned or controlled opposition parties, took media and propaganda in his favor, brought the army and paramilitary SASs to his side, gradually became a full dictator. Democracy ended. Authoritarian rule began. Despite taking power through legal routes, his path was ruthless and strategic. In Germany, people's faith in Nazi leadership increased. Mass support came from promises of economy and jobs. Fear and intimidation reduced resistance. By 1933, Hitler transformed Germany into an obedient nation, legally and silently becoming a dictator. The economic chaos of 1929, Hitler's charisma and strategic patience, these three turned a civilian into Germany's dictator through legal means, but with ruthless planning. Breaking Weimar Republic restrictions, Hitler secretly began rebuilding Germany's army, created the Luftwaffe Air Force, expanded navy and armored divisions, enforced strict training and discipline, developed war machinery and weapons. Secretly and strategically inside Germany, a new military engine was running, silent, disciplined, and ready for expansion. Hitler imposed law, order, and discipline in Germany through propaganda and rallies. He taught obedience and loyalty, redirected the economy and industry toward war readiness. People began to see him not just as a leader, but a savior. An image formed in every citizen's mind: strong Germany, strong Hitler. Hitler's aim was not only to recover Germany. Germany will not just be Europe's power, but the world's power. Ideology included expansion, and the concept of Lebensraum, living space, national pride and ambition grew among the people in every speech and rally. People were made to feel that Germany's greatness was in their hands. Secret agreements and military drills became a threat to nearby European countries. Germany's border regions were fortified, weapons and tanks were stockpiled from 1933 to 1939. In 4 years, Hitler transformed Germany into a modern war machine. In Germany, citizens' faith in Hitler's leadership grew further. The national pride and collective identity were created. Opposition and critics were controlled through fear and intimidation. People began to see him as a savior, and every citizen, but he became part of a war-ready nation. From 1933 to 1939, Hitler transformed Germany not just into a country, but into a powerful war-ready empire. It was the signal for the beginning of a storm for Europe. 8. Poland. The 1st of September 1939. Hitler attacked Poland, used the Blitzkrieg strategy, fast coordinated assault with tanks, air force and infantry. Poland was quickly defeated in a single day. A new barbarism began in Europe. Britain and France declared war against Germany. This started a chain reaction that officially began World War II. One decision by Hitler dragged the entire world into a 6-year bloodbath. Initially, Germany was winning. Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, and Belgium were captured quickly. Advanced up to France. Germany's military strategy and speed shocked Europe. Every country in Europe was helpless before Hitler's military machine. An atmosphere of fear and uncertainty spread across Europe. Hitler's persona as a dominant leader became even stronger. Citizens and soldiers both faced the brutal reality of war. People could not understand that this was only the beginning, and the darkness was about to deepen. The 1st of September 1939, a day Europe and the world will never forget. Hitler began World War II, and the entire world was trapped in a historical storm. After initial victories, Hitler became overconfident. Victories in France, Poland, and Norway gave him an illusion of invincibility. Victory pushed Hitler's egos sky high and distanced him from reality. Asterisks. In 1941, Hitler attacked the Soviet Union, a strategic disaster. Generals warned about harsh winters and long supply lines. Hitler ignored their advice. One decision put millions of soldiers into a death trap. Asterisk. Extreme risk taken in military and political decisions. Hitler began interfering at the front line. Strategic mistakes slowed Germany's momentum. Hitler's decisions were completely disconnected from the reality of war. Asterisk. Warnings from experienced generals were ignored. Army professionalism and planning were undermined. Hitler's ego made the German army vulnerable to its greatest challenge. Asterisk. These mistakes laid the foundation for Germany's future defeat. The scene ends with a dramatic and suspenseful tone. Overconfidence, unrealistic goals, and ego pushed Germany toward a historical catastrophe, and this was only the beginning. Asterisk. Hitler's decisions, his arrogance, and ego defined Germany's future and left bloody lessons for the entire world. This story has only begun. Asterisk. Hitler originally wanted to become an artist. He had been rejected by art school in Vienna. Civilian life and personal dreams became sources of struggle and frustration for him, an ordinary aspiring artist, lost in his paintings and dreams. Asterisk. He took advantage of world war, political chaos, and economic collapse. Became Germany's most feared dictator. The fate of millions of lives came into his hands, and became history's most terrifying dictator. Asterisk. But the question still remains, was Hitler just an individual evil, or did a complex system and circumstances make him what he became? This creates suspense and curiosity for the audience, one man or a system. This question will be the core of our next episodes. Asterisk. From artist to dictator. But the real story now begins, an individual's choices or the impact of an entire system. Cinematic tip. Fade to black with subtle dramatic music and slow zoom on Hitler's shadow. Faint archival images of Germany, rallies, and war in the background.